2 hours away from Utah kicking off, 33 hours away from Utah kicking off against UCLA at the Rose Bowl.
Such a late game.
I love that, though, because it's not a late game where you have nothing to do between now and then. All right? Interesting games tonight. We'll talk about today on the Sean O'Connell Show. Interesting games from 10 a.m. tomorrow all the way through the full slate of Saturday. And Utah-UCLA gets to cap off the weekend, or at least the Saturday, and then you got Sunday games, Monday games. But it's not like you're waiting for Christmas and there's nothing that happens on Christmas Eve. Everyone gets the pajamas on Christmas Eve, right? Once you get to Christmas Eve, it's Christmas. Once you get to football season Eve, it's football season, baby, because you're probably getting a book. You're probably getting some candy. You're getting a little Christmas Eve dinner. There's probably some family party gathering. Maybe there's a relative.
You mean the Lifesavers book? Is that what you mean?
The what?
The Lifesavers book?
What is that?
You know, the candy Lifesavers, they traditionally come in like a book.
What?
Christmas book, yeah.
All right, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not really a book. It's like a container that's in the shape of a book.
So it's Christmas Eve, and we're celebrating all the way through until you actually rip into the present that is Utah football versus UCLA kicking off the season. We're there. And we've got some questions, some final preview questions of the offseason in order to get us to the finish line. There's one that's completely unrelated. At Real OC Sports on Twitter, 877-353-0700. You know I love to hear from you when it comes to any interaction. You can give us. Call in. We'd never get calls. We'd love to have you call in. 877-353-0700.
Especially during airing of grievances, give us a call. But
that's
before
that, at 1:30.
By the way, I know you said we don't have to get to it now, but I wanted to say, I know you said you're going to get to tonight's games, I should say. But I just wanted to say about it, sneaky big night for the Big 12.
James, we're going to get to all this on the show. What are you doing? We're 3 minutes in and you're already trying to redo the show. This is Utah football, baby. We are almost
part
there.
of the Big 12 conference. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We will have great game and a really big night for the Big 12 Conference. Last night was an interesting night for the Big 12 Conference also. Hopefully you stayed up late enough to watch that Nebraska-Cincinnati game. Cincinnati is not supposed to be any good.
That wasn't a Chiefs game? Their quarterback looks just
Dylan
like the
Raiola.
Chiefs quarterback.
Okay.
Arrowhead, too.
I teased him a little bit on the air yesterday about this. It's a problem. It's like, and yeah. I know that it's very strange. Like, what was that? The Talented Mr. Ripley. You ever seen that movie?
No.
The Talented. It's a Matt Damon movie where he unalives somebody and then steals their identity. Okay, that's what Dylan Raiola is planning on doing to Patrick Mahomes.
Like it.
It is insane, dude. Even he was doing the thing where, Patrick Mahomes does that little like get in the huddle. Yeah, he does that little finger flip thing.
It's almost like a twitch at this point.
Nobody else in the world does that in a football game, and Dylan Raiola did that last night, and he caught himself doing it. By the way, he caught himself doing it, realized, there's cameras on me.
Better stop.
And I'm definitely just copying my idol in an alarmingly accurate way. And then he did like the huddle up, the universal sign for huddle up, where it's your hands are both open and, it's here's the church, here's the steeple, open the doors and see all the people.
Or if you know sign language, it's almost the sign for football in sign language. But anyway,
is that true?
Yeah, this is football. Wrestling is a little
okay. Shorter. We've got. By the way, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're really missing out on a great American Sign Language lesson.
I'm doing the Mahomes thing. I'm wearing a red 15 jersey, by the way. Totally.
I thought my first glance when you came into the studio and I looked up and I saw a red 15 jersey, I was like, okay, Raiola, but it's not.
It's Zeke Elliott, Ohio State. But okay. Yes, yeah.
All right. So there's a lot to talk about today. We're going to try to stay organized enough to get to all of it. Bill Riley's joining us in half an hour. We got Lee Sterling today handicapping a huge weekend of games. We've got Coordinator's Corner brought to you by Ivory Homes. Morgan Scally, the defensive coordinator, was the first of the coordinators to join us. It'll be Jason Beck next week. We'll go back and forth with that.
Looking forward to that first one with Jason Beck, obviously new coordinator, first time.
Well, and we'll have an offensive performance to react to.
Yeah,
like
so should be great.
The thing with if we had Jason on the first week, would have been great also, but we're not. There's not as much meat on the bone there because it'd be like, so what plays are you gonna call?
So,
like, well, you got to wait and see.
Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomo.
These guys are pretty good, huh? He's offensive lineman. You guys, they're pretty good. Devin Dampier, he's fast.
You know him, right? You've coached him before.
Hey, could you ever squat 595 pounds when you play quarterback? But now, when we talk to him next week, we're going to have a fun little reaction. Hopefully fun reaction.
We're going to have 3 touchdowns from Devin, 2, maybe 1 or 2 from the running backs, maybe another one. Isn't that what he called for?
James is taking a touchdown away from Devin. Wow.
Oh,
okay.
Is that what he
said? He said 3 passing, 1 rushing.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fine. Devin, I'm texting you right now. Make sure you listen 6 minutes into the show. James underselling your abilities.
I only heard that
QB.
I only heard the dishing with Devin like 3 times yesterday. I should have, and then recorded it live before that. So it should have.
By the way,
should have known that.
You can find it in the on-demand section at ESPN700sports.com, ESPN 700 app, the Sean O'Connell Show, where you can hear Dishing with Dev, brought to you by our good friends at Culligan of Salt Lake City and several other sponsors. Brought to you today, brought to you today and every day by our friends at Big Willie's. Big Willie's is going to have drink specials, food specials all day long for the opening weekend of college football. And guess what? Here's the best part. 1717 South Main Street in Salt Lake City, not just opening weekend of the college football season. Anytime there is a sporting event worth watching on television, maybe it's on a channel you don't have, Big Willie's will have it. Maybe it's a game that nobody else in your household wants to watch. Somebody at Big Willie's is going to want to watch it with you. 1717 South Main Street. Get down there. Tell them OC sent you. Presenting sponsor of the show.
Speaking of the Dishing with Devin, you can find it, the video of it on YouTube. Already over 600 views, excuse me. Bunch of likes as well. A couple of the comments on the videos. Devin greater than Nico. Smoke 'em boys. 1-0. Let's get it. So that's probably the best one. You're a baller. Come across as a true leader. We love you already, Devin. Ready to see the show. Let's smoke these Bruins. So Utes fans fired up. And we love that you're really interested in these first couple Dishing with Devin. It's going to be every week, Thursdays at noon. You can see the video of it later on YouTube right after we air it on the radio, and of course noon on the Sean O'Connell Show. So excited you guys are loving it as much as you are.
All right. So the last few preview questions I'm asking you as we get ready for the kickoff of the season. I want to leave this conversation in bed until we get to the end of the year. I'll do my best on that. There's always going to be speculation. The ups and downs of a season, which are inevitable, are going to contribute to this conversation. But I want this to be a preseason, off-season only type of thing, and we'll do our best to keep it in that category. It is technically still the preseason, so before we start the 2025 campaign, you, the Utah fan, you, the Utah supporter, you, the season ticket holder, I listen to the Sean O'Connell Show every day. I'm listening to the Bill Riley Coaches Show every single week. I'm always dialed in on the home of the Utes, ESPN 700. You've got the
talking about you, Albert Gamboa.
We got the drum and feather light on the ceiling in the man cave, Albert. You got the Rice Eccles, the full Rice Eccles, replica made by the knockoff. It's not Lego. It's some knockoff brand. It's whatever it is, I don't know how Lego missed that, by the way.
Yeah, come on. Football stadiums. Come on.
Lego.
Baseball stadiums, too.
I don't want to go off on that aside, but
you can skip the NBA.
I just screw that up, Lego. Anyway, you're a hardcore Utah fan or you're a casual Utah fan. Is this Kyle Whittingham's final year as the head coach? Tell me now. It's a yes or no question. It's on Twitter at RealOC Sports. Right now, 91% almost of the respondents think that this is the final campaign for Kyle Whittingham. And I think you're probably right, but I asked that one first because the next preview question is more important to me, and I think it actually does fit into the answer of that first preview question. Is this Kyle Whittingham's final year? Well, the yes or no there is related to the answer on this next one. Vegas has Utah's win total set at 7.5. All right? I'm bumping that up. The official Sean O'Connell show win total over-under number is set at 8.5. 8.5 wins for Utah football in this 2025 campaign. I understand the schedule is tough. I understand the parity of the Big 12 conference. I know that you got to deal with Texas Tech and a completely reloaded roster. You got to deal with Arizona State as one of not only the Big 12's fastest rising teams, but one of the country's fastest rising teams. I think you have to worry more about BYU than a lot of people do. And there's always going to be a random like Houston, Cincinnati, Colorado type thing that you don't, West Virginia, that you shouldn't have to be overly afraid of, but it turns out you kind of got to be afraid of them because that's the nature of college football and of the Big 12 conference especially. I'm setting the over-under at 8.5 wins. Vegas is underselling what this team is capable of. And more importantly, the Vegas line is just about people who want to either cash the ticket or not. They don't care. There's an unemotional element to this. The 8.5 number is deeply rooted in storytelling and emotion for me. 8.5 wins. Under that, for Kyle Whittingham, if he goes 7 or 8 wins in what probably is intended to be his final year, there's going to be an itch. There's going to be a question. There's going to be I don't know if I can walk away on an underwhelming note. I don't know if I can ride off into the sunset. If the sunset is just one of those bad ones where it's cloudy all day, you didn't really get to see the sun, so there's no colors. You know it's getting darker, but like the gray just goes from gray to blue to purple to black. That's not the sunset Kyle Whittingham after 21 years.
That's not a Rose Bowl sunset.
Can ride off into potentially, right? I mean, this dude, he is Clint Eastwood on a horse. He doesn't want to ride off into some unassuming sunset, or maybe he does, but we don't want that for him.
No.
So 7.5 wins is not adequate to tell that story. Now, if you go over on 8.5 wins, you're a 9-win regular season team especially, and Vegas will cash you if you factor in the bowl game. But 8.5 wins for Utah in a 12-win season, 9-3, I think puts you at least into the tiebreaker scenarios for the Big 12 Conference this year. Maybe there's a 10-win team. Maybe there's an 11-win team, although I highly, highly doubt that. But the most likely scenario is you've got probably a situation like with the Pac-12 championship years where 9 or 10 wins gets you into that conversation. And in the second Pac-12 championship year, and Utah fans don't like to be reminded of this for obvious reasons, but like that 9 wins was such an improbable, you still needed 4 other things to go your way. You had to win 4 coin flips in addition to doing what you did. And you still got into the championship game. And, of course, you won the championship game. And that's a great season. And it goes down in Utah football history as a great season because it was that. But it wasn't undefeated Sugar Bowl year. It wasn't undefeated Fiesta Bowl year. It wasn't once-in-a-generation, flawless, error-free football all the way through. You don't need that to get to the Big 12 championship game. And honestly, if you're counting on that, I think you're in the wrong mindset, and you can really get yourself as a team and for our purposes as a fan base into a bit of a tizzy because you're like, oh my gosh, you lost the first big conference game to Texas Tech. What's going to happen now? Relax, right? There's going to be games, and Nebraska-Cincinnati showed us a little bit of this. If you look at the box score, Sorsby threw for what, like 69 total yards in that game, the Cincinnati quarterback? An appalling number in a college football game. You give a little bit of leeway because it's week one and because it's Cincinnati and you don't have a lot of high expectations for the Bearcats and things like that. But, man, you look at just the box score on that game. You didn't tune in to watch the disturbing behavior of Dylan Raiola trying to copy everything that Patrick Mahomes does. While, by the way, Patrick Mahomes was in the building in a luxury suite watching and most likely being like, oh, this kid, yeah, all right, this is flattering, this is cool. And then if you paid too close attention, you'd probably be like, wait a second, this is getting a little bit weird.
Where's my security team? Are they close?
Why after he completes every pass, why does he look up here and try to make eye contact with me? This is getting odd. In any case, 13 of 25 for 69 yards, a whopping 2.8 yard per completion average, and an interception from Cincinnati's quarterback, Brendan Sorsby. If I told you...
interception in the most important part of the game, by the way.
By the way, the leading rusher in the game, also the quarterback. If I told you just these numbers, Cincinnati threw for 69 yards in a game on a neutral site, kickoff classic kind of situation against a decently talented Nebraska team, you'd be like, great, embarrassing for the Big 12 Conference. Guess what? Cincinnati was in it to win it up until the final drive. Sorsby didn't put the ball quite far enough outside or put quite enough air under it. Nebraska safety makes a really good play with what it was, 30 seconds left or so.
All conference safety. That a questionable call to go for the touchdown at that time, given those passing numbers for the game and given the safety going against him. But
it was because that they had extended the drive on a penalty, and Nebraska could have been reasonably reeling at that moment. And instead,
they felt it.
They came out. They did what they had to do.
Didn't work out.
He threw it downfield and, misread the safety, didn't put quite enough air under it. And, by the way, his wide receiver didn't help him a ton playing defense. Yeah. You can try to bat that ball down, live to fight another day. In any case.
Or just, tackle him and take the penalty, right?
It was right down to the last possession for Cincinnati in a game where you're like, oh, my gosh. That's what Big 12 play is going to be. You're going to see games like this where this looks like a terrible, embarrassing offensive performance for Cincinnati, but they're a play away from winning it.
Yeah.
They're a better executed call or maybe a better play call away, maybe two or three, not just one, but getting into the end zone and beating Nebraska and changing the story completely. That is going to happen in multiple scenarios to Baylor, to Arizona State, to Texas Tech, to Utah, all these teams that are kind of like in the conversation. They're going to have one of those performances where they look like, oh, man, you were terrible and you probably got blown out here. And it's like, no, actually, we won that game.
Barely won
or they're going to be
lost.
Up against Houston or whoever, and it's going to be like, wow, Houston was awful in that game. Look, their quarterback threw for less than 100 yards. And she's like, yeah, but we turned the ball over 4 times. And so, we, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, we ended up losing to Houston when we were heavy favorites here. You're going to have this in Big 12 play. So setting that over-under total, I'm not expecting more than one 10-win team. I'm not even expecting one 10-win team, but certainly I would be surprised if there were 2. Now, our expectations have been dead wrong in the past. Last year was the best example of that. I'm setting the official Sean O'Connell Show over-under number at 8.5 wins. 877-353-0700. Tell me whether you think Utah hits the over or the under, because that, to me, still does play into the decision-making process for Kyle Whittingham. He wants to at least be in a conference championship game. He wants to be out on a win, probably in a bowl game at least. If you're a 7-win team and you're playing in the Big O Tires crap bowl, he's going to be like, I don't know, man. Let's run it back one more time.
Couldn't even be creative with that. Just the crap bowl.
I ran out of steam. Also, shout out to Big O Tires. I shouldn't have.
They are a proud sponsor of the station. They wouldn't be
Big Old
sponsoring the
Tires.
Crap Bowl. Come on now.
They would not be associated with the Crap Bowl. All right, you're playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl would be okay because they've done a great job.
Big O Tires Pop-Tarts Bowl.
The pageantry of the Pop-Tarts Bowl has been really phenomenal. They really do the best marketing of anyone, and I love it because I love a good Pop-Tart, even though they are actual poison and you should not feed them to your kids. I'm an adult now, and so I can eat them if I want to.
Exactly. I love that. Also, speaking of the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I have not played College Football 26 or whatever the official name of the video game is yet, but I have seen the clips of the Pop-Tart of the Pop-Tarts Bowl actually in the game. So that's pretty sweet about the Pop-Tarts Bowl, too, in the video game.
So, Utah hitting the over or the under at 8.5 wins. Ignore what Vegas says unless you're going to Vegas and actually placing a wager, in which I think hammering the over would be the way that I would do it. At 7.5 wins, it's like that. It just feels so attainable, so realistic for Utah to be able to pull that off. But
save the trip and go to Paramount Sports. By the way, Lee Sterling, he's got you. He's got you for that.
Great. Also, last preview question. Aside from offensive line, because we've already decided that the O-line is going to be the best O-line in the entire country, and if they don't live up to that expectation, we're going to throw sticks at them. Aside from O-line, what is Utah's strongest position group this year? I put the poll question up. The options I put for you are linebackers, safeties, D-line, and I'm incorporating the D-ends there, so the full defensive front, or other. Right now, linebacker is running away with it at 65% of the vote. Safeties are at 26%. D-line at 4.6%. Other at 4.6%. And when I say other, I say tell me what. So far, it's been running backs have been thrown in there. And I thought about putting running backs as one of the A, B, C, D options, but I have a hard time doing it because of how big of a – we don't know. These guys looked good in other uniforms, but it's the same reason I don't put quarterback there, because Devin Dampier looked awesome at New Mexico. Dakari Rogers, awesome. Wayshaw Parker, awesome. Wearing something else, playing against different competition, etc. So we know that these linebackers, when they're all healthy and they're all playing together, should be really good against Power 4 competition. We've seen Lander Barton at his best against Pac-12 and Big 12 competition look awesome. We've seen Levani Damuni in a Stanford uniform and in a Utah uniform look like an all-league linebacker. John Hall's a little bit less certain. The backups are a little bit less certain. But that's why I think a lot of people are looking at linebacker. We've seen Teo Johnson and Nate Ritchie and these guys and Rabbit Evans. We've seen them against Power 4 competition in a Utah uniform, playing a Utah football schedule, look like real players. So, aside from O-line, which position group are you most confident in? I can't allow you to give O-line as your answer because everyone in the country is like, this is the best offensive line Utah's ever seen. Kyle Whittingham has said it's probably the best offensive line he's ever coached in 21 years at the helm at the University of Utah. And guess what? If you go back further when he was just an assistant coach, it's probably the best offensive line there too. And he's had some great ones. I mean, you got to give respect to the offensive line that had Anthony Brown, and you had Jordan Gross, and you had Thomas Herron, and you had Chris Kemoyatu, and you had the Boone brothers. I mean, and you've had Zane Beatles and Zane Taylor and Jeremiah Patasi. I mean, there's a bunch of really, really good guys that were playing alongside other really good guys. Garrett Bowles, but
those Pac-12 championship years, Nick Ford and Braden Daniels on those offensive lines, really good.
Braden Daniels, I think he just got signed to a practice squad yesterday. He's been in the league. Like, these guys are good players. And this offensive line that Utah's fielding this year should have no fewer than 3 NFL players on it, maybe all 5. Maybe all 5 at least get their cup of coffee, but 3 of them are going to be, I think, multiple-year starters in the NFL. Utah at the offensive line, this is the most excited we could be, most excited we can be about the least exciting position group in the history of Utah football.
Yeah.
Because I'll do my best to grade them out and to watch and pay attention, but most of the time I'm just going to be like, hey, where's 4? Who's got the ball in their hands? Hey, what's happening with number 4?
On Tuesdays with Jeff Schwartz, he can give us a lot more in-depth stuff.
He'll bust out the
that.
spoon and the film study and the Joe Moore Award conversations. But those are my final preview questions for all of you. All right? And they're not completely disjointed from one another. Is this Kyle Whittingham's last year as we're about to kick it off? And are you going over or under on 8.5 wins? Right now, 28% of people are saying under 8.5 wins. I hope you're just doing that out of superstition and saying, no, I can't get overly excited and I can't get too pumped up because then I'll be disappointed. An 8-win season is on that borderline where the future of Utah football gets to be a little bit more uncertain with coaching decisions, with not being an obvious recruitment destination, not being a place where people are just like, look at Utah's still one of the great teams in the country. 8 wins, you're probably not in the top 25. You're probably going to a decent bowl game, but nothing that's going to super excite anybody. If you're a 9-win team, even if you lose the tiebreakers and you don't end up in the Big 12 championship game, you could say, yeah, well, we were an injury here or a drop pass there, an interception here. Oh, wait, the recruiting it looks different, right? And if you're in the conference championship game, which I think 9 wins potentially gets you there, that's a whole different story, obviously. And then the last preview question, the strongest position group, aside from the offensive line, because that one's too easy of an answer, linebacker, safeties, D-line, or other. All right, we'll take a break here as we continue with our 31 days of football, 31 flavors at Baskin-Robbins. And because this is game day eve, you're getting down. Now is the day for your second favorite flavor of ice cream. Your favorite, you're probably going to say for actual game day, but your second favorite flavor of ice cream is what you're having right here today. For me, I'm going with the cookies and cream. They can't call it Oreo unless they have a partnership with Oreo or whatever, but that's my second favorite, probably on every ice cream menu. You smash up Oreo cookies into some vanilla ice cream. Yeah, I'm probably going with that today. Utes begin the season in less than 48 hours, and it really feels more like 24 because it's tomorrow, people. The voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, joins us next on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. I know this music is getting you fired up, and it should, because it's synonymous with our next guest, the voice of the Utes, who's going to be calling these games for you as Utah embarks on its 2025 college football campaign. Bill Riley joins the Sean O'Connell Show. Bill, welcome. How are you?
Happy Football Friday, Sean. I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. It's Christmas Eve, effectively, for Utah football fans, and tomorrow night we get to see what all the conversation, all the hype, all the worry and stuff is going to be about. Give me your routine between now and when that game kicks off in, 33 hours away, something like that?
It's a late night game. Getting ready to fly to Burbank here in just a bit. Get down there, get settled in, grab a little dinner tonight, get up tomorrow morning, hopefully stretch the legs just a little bit, do a little last-minute recon with the coaches, watch Ohio State, Texas, which I think should be a great game. Do a little prep. I've got a soccer match on Sunday night on ESPN Plus I've got to do. So do a little prep for Utah and NC State. And then head over to the Rose Bowl late afternoon tomorrow, get all set up. A lot of good memories in that building, Sean. Even in the games Utah lost down there, a lot of fun memories, a lot of great memories against UCLA. Probably my favorite one was the Joe Williams game, where he ran for more yards than anybody in the history of the building ever has, 332 yards. So that'll be my day tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, the context for that Joe Williams game was also fantastic because he was like from the couch to a game like that.
Coming out of retirement?
Yeah, pretty cool. Let's talk about this year's team. We had Devin in this week, and there's a lot of optimism around what he brings. You've been able to see more practice than pretty much everyone has. You've been able to talk with these coaches and these players with more frequency than any of us have. Focusing on Devin in particular right now, how smooth will the transition be? How painless will the process of integrating him to a Utah uniform be, given that he brought his coordinator with him? And, there's growing pains with any new quarterback, but this is a guy who's, been under the bright lights before. He's played against Power 4 competition before. How smooth do you think it goes?
For Devin, I think it's smooth. He knows the offense. He knows Jason Beck. They have a relationship that spans more than a year. I think for him, it's been easy. It's been smooth. Now, people talk, he played at New Mexico. Sean, his athleticism translates. I don't care whether it was New Mexico or not. When he played some Power 5 teams, he thrived last year. He also didn't have a world-class offensive line and the stable of running backs that he's got now, though he did have good running backs at New Mexico. So I don't think his transition is going to be difficult. The offensive line has said all the right things this fall. We'll see how it all translates when it plays out. It's funny that the last time Utah, that game I was talking to you about, that Joe Williams game, that was probably the other best offensive line that Kyle Whittingham's had, at least in the Power 5 era. That one had Garrett Bowles. That one had Isaac Asiata. I think Sam Tevy was on that line. That was an NFL-laden offensive line, too, and that was the day they ran counter Trey until UCLA just cried themselves to sleep. I mean, they ran about the 2 plays over and over again and just gashed them. I wouldn't be surprised if they have success on the ground tomorrow night if they don't just do it over and over again with Wayshawn Parker and Kerry Rogers and Devin Dampier.
What do you expect from the offense on the other side? What do you expect from Tino Sinceri and Nico Iamaleava in a brand new marriage? Talent, certainly. Against the Utah defense, though, we were talking with Ari Temkin yesterday. He's like, yeah, that's not a fun game to have to make your first start in a new system. But he's a dangerous cat at the quarterback position, at least.
Iamaleava is a talent. Here's my question, Sean. Sinceri wasn't a play caller at Indiana. They had great success last year, but he wasn't a play caller there. A little bit of a question. Not saying he can't do it. But as I was putting together my notes and my charts, they're having to rebuild the offensive line. DiGiorgio's the only returner. They've got a lot of transfers, and they've got transfers from power programs, Sean. But when you look a little deeper, There's guys that have been at 3 destinations and made 2 starts in 4 years. Does that make sense? These aren't guys that have played a lot of football, much less played a lot of football in this system. Nico is a crazy talent, and a lot like Devin. He's a guy that can improvise, make plays with his legs and his arm. My question is the surrounding cast for Nico, and will they be able to come together quickly? Because it's a lot of cats that weren't at UCLA playing in a new system that really didn't play a lot of football at their other stops too. So that's probably the bigger question. If we're looking at the offenses tomorrow night, I'm really excited to see Utah's. But I think Utah's is going to function pretty well, especially with the offensive line and the experience of some of those guys. I'm curious on the other side of the ball, outside of Iamaleava, how does that offense come together for UCLA against a good, very good Utah defense?
Yeah, there's also for me, the storyline of, I think that, there was a stay of execution on the coaching staff last year because they don't want to pay buyouts, and financially UCLA's not in the best situation, and just a lot of, insecurity there. So, I mean, a much different head coaching situation and coaching staff situation than what Utah's dealing with. But I think that UCLA is pretty vulnerable right now. I'm not trying to get to a point where it's like, oh, this is not a game, because they're a talented team. But
no, it's a first game out too, Sean, as we saw last week in that game in Ireland. And lots of crazy things can happen in first games. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, so anyway, Utah's defense, our first coordinator's corner with Morgan Scalley, happens today in half an hour. And, that's a guy he's not just the defensive coordinator. He's a Utah football legend. He's the head coach in waiting. He's a guy who's got more skin in the game even than most defensive coordinators do. And there is new talent coming in to replace departing talent. That's always the case in college football. But we put this assumption now on Morgan Scalley's plate, and by extension on Kyle Whittingham's plate, that as long as you figure out your offense, the defense is going to be great. We just know. Well, we don't have the same guys as we did last year. Yeah, that's okay. You have to produce at the same level. Do the bodies and that question match up for you this year on the defensive side?
Yeah, they've got a lot of really good, talented guys coming back. The linebacker core, to me, I heard you asking a minute ago outside the offensive. I think it's the linebacker group with Barton, Hall, DeMooney, Trey Reynolds behind. I think that might be the second group I feel best about when you stick them out there, because they've played a lot together. I've said this for years. I rarely ever worry about Utah's defense. Utah's defense in an off year is good. Utah's defense in an on year is elite. I thought last year the defense, had the offense been even a skosh better, would have been considered an elite defense. Sean, if you look, as rough as it was offensively, and that defense was on the field a lot. They were top 4, top 3, top 2 in most every Pac-12 or Big 12, I should say, defensive category. There are a few questions. There's not a lot of experience up front on the defensive line, but there's a ton of talent. The linebacker core, as I said, is really good. The safeties are outstanding. Rabbit Evans has put on about 15 pounds. Teo Johnson is what he is. And I've liked what I've seen from the corners this fall, and they've got depth there too. So I think this defense is going to be really good this year, and I think it's going to get better as the year goes along, especially as those guys up front get a little bit of game experience.
The tight end room has a couple of guys that are young that are getting all these little shout-outs from practice. And, whether it's Buchanan or it's Bentley or it's one of these other young cats, who is going to be the playmaker in that room when it comes to catching passes and scoring for the Utes?
Dallin Bentley's a veteran. He's been around. He's going to be a really good, solid. He's what you think of as your prototypical tight end. He can block, he can catch, do the whole thing. J.J. Buchanan is the young kid from Vegas who just, his athleticism pops. It felt like every time I was at practice this fall, he was making some crazy contested catch or something like that. The other guy to me that's a wild card, Sean, is Otto Tia. Otto moved from receiver to tight end. He played receiver, had a really nice year last year at Utah State. he's been a little inconsistent in camp, but he's 6'5", he's 230 pounds. He checks the boxes. I think Utah's tight end room is going to be good this year. If Tia can come on and be productive like he was at Utah State, I think it could be really good.
Probably the most important question, because it's the question that ruined last year and compromised the year before last. How do you keep this team healthy? We know there's talent, especially at that offensive line and the quarterback position. Some of the linebackers you just talked about should be all-conference players, maybe all-American level players. How do you keep this team healthy?
Sean, it's just injuries are impossible to predict. I think they've done all the research and all the metrics on how to handle practices. They got through fall camp relatively unscathed. They're in good shape there. But it's a violent game. You played it. You know. There's no accounting for injuries. They're freaks sometimes. They're non-contact, and sometimes you get blown up and you get injured. I just think you do your best to get them in shape and protect them during the week in practice. But when you play a game as physical and as violent as Utah does, and everybody at the Division I level and the power level does, there's just it's. I hate to use the term luck because that's the wrong term, but there's no gauging for it. You do all the preparation and conditioning you can. You have great medical staff. You do all those things, but you can't account for them. So you just have to. I just think the last 2 years they've been on the. Remember when they were going and winning Rose Bowls, they were relatively healthy. I mean, those were pretty healthy teams. They're going to compete for Rose Bowls. The last 2 years they've been on the other side of it. I think they've done everything they possibly can in preparation. Now you just have to hope for the best.
Bill Riley for another minute or two here on the Sean O'Connell Show ahead of Utah kicking off its season against UCLA tomorrow night. You can hear that game and Bill's voice calling the game right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. We've had some Big 12 action already. You mentioned the Week 0 game, the Farmageddon, although ESPN refused to call it Farmageddon. We saw Cincinnati last night, Baylor against Auburn, big game tonight, Colorado in action as well. Have you seen anything yet from the Big 12 teams that have competed that makes you rethink your handicapping of the league ahead of Week 1 action?
I'm a little troubled with K-State. I wasn't wildly impressed with Avery Johnson. I know his stat line looked good, Sean, but you've got to be able to throw the ball and make some time. I mean, his 2 touchdown passes were to wide open wide receivers. He missed some passes. Dylan Edwards, was it Dylan Edwards, the running back?
Dylan Edwards.
Left the program yesterday. That's Avery Johnson's best friend. That ain't good. Said, whatever his story was, I'm sure K-State's got to do. So I'm a little, we'll see on K-State, still early, but those things aren't necessarily great. Iowa State executed, made plays when they had to. Rocco Beck looked good. Cincinnati, I thought Nebraska would probably win that game. I thought Cincinnati had some opportunities. They were okay. I don't think there's a lot of big hopes for the Bearcats. This weekend, tonight's going to be interesting. What CU got? Georgia Tech's got some preseason hype around them, so I'm going to be really curious to see that game. We'll see. I don't make any grand proclamations. I think if I was K-State or Iowa State, I wouldn't have been thrilled with playing a conference game in Week 1 overseas in Ireland. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like, especially that game, because it's been a rivalry game for years, that the games like that should be played on campus. I'm okay with playing games overseas, but not a conference historical rivalry game. That should have been in an Ames or Manhattan for me. Could you imagine moving Utah BYU to Montreal?
That's
what they did. That's K-State. I know KU and K-State, but really K-State and Iowa State have a long-standing rivalry too. I just couldn't imagine moving the Utah BYU game to anywhere but Provo or Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I'm all for international expansion of American football. The NFL, I think, is doing a decent job of it right now. I was somewhat intrigued when it was like Navy and Notre Dame playing in Dublin, because there's some, I guess, loose connection there. But it's a tour. It's a tourism industry kind of thing for those games to be played, and for it to be, like you said, a conference rivalry game that's outsourced to a place where either the fans who can afford to make it are there and a bunch of Irish people who don't really care about the outcome. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for a game of any kind of historical import to be sent overseas. But, you know.
I know why the Big 12 did it, because both those fan bases travel. The K-State fans travel. The Iowa State fans travel. They're great fan bases, and they travel. But I would have had K-State play, I don't know, have K-State play Minnesota, have K-State play Iowa instead of Iowa. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. It's just I just believe great rivalry games, especially in college football, belong on campus.
All right, here's a non-college football question for you before we swing back to one on Utah, and then I'll get you out of here. The Dallas Cowboys have traded Micah Parsons. The Dallas Mavericks traded a guy who was probably a future Hall of Famer in Luka Doncic. In both cases, you could say you probably didn't get enough back for either of those guys. Which of those Dallas franchises did worse in that trade? Dallas Cowboys or Mavericks?
I think it's still too soon to tell, but I would probably say the Mavericks. And I say that because Luka is young, and Luka showed no desire to want to leave and go anywhere else. I don't know that Micah Parsons – I think Micah Parsons liked Dallas. I think Luka built his forever dream home in Dallas.
Yeah.
He was planning on being the face of the franchise forever. And I think you see that a little bit more in the NBA than you do in the NFL. I liken the Parsons deal to the Tyreek Hill deal that my team had a few years ago. Tyreek wanted to be the highest paid wide receiver in the Chiefs loved him. They made him a great offer. But they also knew in the salary cap era that they couldn't afford with Mahomes and others to it was a little bit more of a now Parsons is he's a generational player and a game wrecker, but I thought here's what I'll say. I thought the Cowboys could have gotten more for Parsons. And I think they waited too long to do the deal. Remember, the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill in March, and they got a couple of first round, second round, third round. All those picks they got Karlaftis, McDuffie. They rebuilt their defense, and were still able to be okay offense. They won 2 Super Bowls, obviously. We'll see what happens with Dallas, but I think the Luka deal was worse.
All right.
Where do you fall?
Yeah, I think you're right, and because one player has a greater impact in the NBA, so it's an apples and oranges kind of situation.
There's also no real salary cap in the NBA, to be fair. I mean, there's luxury taxes and aprons, but if you really want to keep a player, you can do it. Look at what the Warriors have done for years with Steph and Clay and that group. So you can do it. In the NFL, you can't. There is a hard cap, and you have to be at it or under it.
Back to Utah UCLA before we get you out of here. The outcome, I think we're all believing Utah wins this game. Is it close? Is it a nail biter? Is this a comfortable win for the University of Utah? Is it potentially a disaster? How do you see it?
I don't think it's a disaster. My inkling is if the game is played relatively clean, and that's an if. It wasn't in Ireland last week. But if it's played relatively clean, I think Utah is the better team, and I don't think it's a real close game. I don't think it's necessarily a blowout either, but I think Utah wins pretty easily if it's clean. Couple of turnovers in short fields, though, everything can change. But my inkling is Utah wins they maybe by more than a score. Maybe not by like 3 scores, but maybe by a little bit more than a score.
Yeah, I'll take that. And I think any Utah fan would take that. And, we won't get too far ahead of ourselves on what that means for the rest of the season. We'll take it week by week. The conversation with Bill Riley, by the way, brought to you by our good friends Handy and Handy. It's big firm experience with small firm attention. Bill, they've helped you. They've helped me. Handy and Handy, just great for anybody.
Yep, they're fantastic. HandyLawUtah.com is their website. I've known Preston Garrett for more than a decade. They are terrific attorneys, and they give you great hands-on. So I always say this. I hope you never have to call Handy and Handy because they're personal injury attorneys. I hope you guys have great, healthy lives with no car accidents. Everybody's good. But if you get into one of those situations, you want somebody who's going to be on your side and fight for you, and that's what they'll do at Handy and Handy. So go to HandyLawUtah.com to get them.
801-264-6677 if you want to call them. HandyLawUtah.com. Have a great call, Bill. Thank you. Talk again next week.
Thank you, Sean.
Bill Riley, voice of the Utes. You'll hear him, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester, late night on ESPN 700 and on 92.1 FM. We're almost there, people. Sean O'Connell Show continues on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Sean O'Connell Show here on a Friday. We got the airing of grievances coming up at 1:30. Make sure you're prepared with a grievance. Unburden yourself. Whatever's been bothering you about sports, people, society, your job, just unburden. Air the grievance. Get it off your chest. Head into the long Labor Day weekend, where I hope you have a safe and sober holiday and enjoy the beautiful weather here in Utah that has cooled down slightly, which is nice.
Yeah, it's been a really good weather week. It's almost fallish weather because we've had good amount of rain, and it's cooled some things down just in time for football season.
Shout out to 1624 on the text line, who answered two of my final preview questions of the season in one text response. I think Utah loses one game and Witt rides off into the sunset, a champion making the playoff. First of all, Sign me up for that level of optimism.
11-1 season would be incredible.
It'd be outrageously awesome, and the ability to ride off as a conference champion into the sunset, making the playoff. Maybe you get a win in the playoff.
Let's get a playoff.
Let's get greedy. If we're talking 11-1, let's get greedy, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say, hey, why not? Oh, a national championship for Utah in Kyle Whittingham's final year. You know what? The top 25 is wrong already.
Yeah.
We've already had the one big top 25 upset last night, Boise State. You don't really relish it.
Destroyed.
You don't really relish it when it's Boise State that's getting blown out. You know what I mean?
Man, that was a drubbing by South Florida.
South Florida. Okay, so South Florida, Central Florida, any directional Florida, for me, if I'm a head coach, unless those teams are in my conference, I am the athletic director who schedules those games. Fireable offense. I don't want it. I don't want Florida Atlantic. I don't want South Florida. I don't want Northeast Florida.
Florida. I don't know.
I don't want Miami. I don't want Miami-Dade Community College. I don't want any of because the talent on those teams is scary. And any time that you make a couple mistakes early in a game, a lot of those teams, especially the lower level ones, right? They're not great when it comes to battling it out in a close game. But if you give them a little bit of confidence, you make a couple mistakes in the first quarter, you blow coverage here, you fumble the ball back to them, whatever, you're screwed. As soon as those guys believe that they're going to win, they're going to win. They're faster than you. Their D-line is bigger than your offensive line. As soon as they start playing free and easy because they're confident, you're in trouble. And Boise State has been the ultimate kryptonite for over-athletic teams in the past because they execute. They're disciplined. They've got their own athletes that everybody sleeps on because it's a school from Idaho. Anyway, I love the optimism. Keep the text coming in, 877-353-0700.
To be fair, our texter and 1624 text he's like basically a daily texter. We love you, 1624. But to be fair, they said championship year. They didn't just say Big 12 championship. So maybe the optimism is high enough for a natty. With 1624. Seriously.
Give me all of the Kool-Aid, baby.
Seriously, we love our regular texters, and 1624 is one of them. We appreciate you.
All right. We're going to take a quick one here. We're going to come back. We have a caller on the line. Is that correct?
Yeah, we got a caller. We asked for it, and we have received a caller. Thank you for calling it.
I hope you can hang tight for 3 minutes, and we'll get to that call, and we'll talk about this Dallas Cowboys to Green Bay Packers trade. Micah Parsons is in a Packers uniform. You've heard a lot of the comparisons. I'm going to give you a different angle on it. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Oh, Billy Joel, serenade us into a football weekend. Sean O'Connell Show continues here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sam from South Jordan wants to weigh in on the phone lines here, 877-353-0700. Always open for all of you texting. If you want to call, we'd love to hear from you. Sam, what do you have for me?
Hey, boys, how we doing today? Good vibes, football tomorrow. Thought I'd just call in and see if you got a chance to see that report from Brett McMurphy yesterday on the Maryland AD saying that they're going to the 20 teams in the Big Ten. Just was curious to see what you guys thought about, maybe what we need to show or what needs to happen in between now and then for us to get that invite.
Great question. And yes, Brett McMurphy has reported, and Brett does not go with reports unless he actually believes what is out there, that by the year 2030, so in the next 5 years, the Big Ten will expand again to 20 teams. And this is going to be an unpopular thing for me to say. Utah fans, it ain't going to be us.
That's 4 more teams, right?
That's 2 more teams.
Oh, they're at 18. That's right.
They're at 18 teams.
Yeah,
they're not going to kick anybody out.
I don't think Utah's one of the top 2 that they might look to expand.
And that's exactly how you have to look at it. Unfortunately, because would I love to see Utah in the Big Ten Conference? Absolutely. But remember, this is a Midwestern-based conference for the most part. But they don't care as much about the regionality as they care about the television networks. They care about the money that comes with your campus, all right?
They don't even care as much about football competitiveness as much as they care about that, what you just talked about.
Maryland, Rutgers, attendance, viewership doesn't, weirdly enough, like, why did you add UCLA? Because UCLA is in LA, that's why. Yeah. Because here's the actual reality of Big Ten expansion as it pertains to the University of Utah. As long as it's called the Big Ten Conference and it is operating in a current structure or something similar to the current structure of Power 4 college football, Utah is not going to be invited to the Big Ten Conference. Salt Lake City's not a large enough metro, not a large enough television market. The university does check some of the boxes when it comes to accreditation, AAU membership.
The academics, yeah.
The academic side of things, but this is going to be an athletic conference decision that is based on population center, that is based on things like that. Now, Utah is trending in the right direction for all of that. You got to ask yourself, for the next 5 years, can the University of Utah and can, more importantly, Salt Lake City and the state of Utah position themselves in such a way that you have to be included in the big money game? You have to be included the way that Seattle, Washington is, that Los Angeles, California is, that Chicago, Illinois is, because these are the cities that are included not based on any kind of tradition, not based on any kind of regionality, and not based on any kind of athletic success, but on economics, on numbers. When the Big Ten expands in 2028 and adds 2 more teams, how do you make yourself a top 2 in Salt Lake City, Utah? You just can't. Unless they're like, hey, we got to get Denver. We're going to steal Colorado. They're going to have a travel partner, and that's going to be the University of Utah.
Which that might, like, that's not the most unlikely scenario. You think about the desirability of having Dion in your conference if he continues to have success like he did last year.
A far more likely scenario is that the Big Ten sees what's going on with the ACC's malcontents, with Duke, with North Carolina, with Virginia, with Florida State, with Clemson, and sees an opportunity to reposition themselves as a superior or at least an equal to the SEC in terms of market and competitiveness and things like that. Now, I guess I'm talking about out both sides of my mouth here, because most of those schools I just mentioned to you are not in a television market or a metroplex that has any kind of import when I'm saying, well, that's what Utah's got to be. But they get a pass on some of those requirements because of the fact that it's North Carolina.
Yeah, it's big brands. And even North Carolina football has been competitive enough, and there's enough money for football in North Carolina, even though it's known as a basketball school, that's a desirable product for the Big Ten. The other thing
he said it's before 2030, right? Let's say that this
I think he said by 2030.
By 2030. Let's say that this happens in 2028, and we'll just split the difference.
Yeah.
Between 2025 and 2028, what if Bill Belichick has positioned North Carolina as some kind of an East Coast power in football?
Right, or at least a perennial ACC championship contender, if not ACC champion. Yeah.
I mean, there's just too many factors that work against Utah in this, and that's not me saying you don't get to be invited to the party. My opinion on what happens eventually with college football, and probably on this same timeline, is completely unchanged. You don't have to be one of the top 2 candidates for the Big Ten Conference. What you have to be is you have to be a top 50 team, a top 50 university, a top 50 athletic department and market in the United States of America, because that's what it's going to come down to. 50 to 64 teams in that eventual AFC, NFC model, in the super conference. That's the direction we're headed. Everyone in the Big Ten knows it. Everyone in the SEC knows it. Everyone in the ACC and in the Big 12, they all know it, right? And when you look at where you're at in that becomes a little bit more comforting. Not fully comfortable, but a little bit more comforting, right? Because Salt Lake City on that same timeline will be gearing up for Olympics. We'll have probably now Major League Baseball coming. NHL is here and established, and will have won their first Stanley Cup.
3 major pro franchises.
The Utah Jazz will still be terrible, but
still one of those.
AJ DeBonson will be playing for that terrible team. Whatever it is, right?
Speaking into existence.
So Salt Lake City is on the come up, and this market size and the viewership numbers, if anyone actually starts paying attention, by the way, to television audiences, which drives me insane that they didn't in the last round of realignment, because as the Pac-12 was collapsing, I promise you I paid way more attention than I ever wanted to the business and economics of it. It was like, okay, if you're doing this based on market size, it's USC, it's UCLA, it's Washington. Eugene, Oregon, by the way, doesn't count.
Yeah, they're not even that. It's not even that close to Portland, which is not a big market, but is the big market of the state.
But by the way, Oregon was like a no-brainer. Everyone knew Oregon was going to be fine because of the fact that they are a juggernaut athletically and brand-wise. Everyone knew Oregon was going to land where they needed to land, whether that was going to be the Big Ten or, they were going to have to go independent or whatever. Everyone was like, Oregon's going to be fine.
Or, SEC, Southeastern Conference, Oregon maybe.
Yeah. But I was looking at it. Like on a daily basis, we were having conversations that spun off this exact thing. Where does Utah land? Where do these these Pac-12 teams land? And when you looked at the television ratings numbers, it was like, a lot of people watch Oregon football.
Yeah.
A lot of people watch Oregon football. And it turns out that not that many people watch USC football. It was like Oregon gets a lot of viewers. Washington gets a lot of viewers. And look at that. Utah gets a hell of a lot of viewers.
Yeah.
And they were like 3rd or 4th in the average eyes on a television set for their games because they were good, right? And they became a national brand, and they had good broadcasting windows because of that, not because people want to buy Utah gear, but because people wanted to watch Kyle Whittingham teams play.
It was a curiosity factor. Is this former group of 5 power actually a power 4, power 5 power?
It's why Boise State gets way better numbers than everyone else that's on their level.
Yeah.
Way better numbers, right? Not because people have affection for Boise, Idaho, but it's just like, well, the blue turf is kind of a thing.
Can they play with the big boys?
The brand is recognizable. This is the David trying to slay Goliath on a year in and year out basis. And if you actually get to a point where the Big Ten Conference, the SEC Conference, the powers that be are paying attention to viewership numbers, because that's what they care so much about is television sets. Well, are they actually tuning in on the television sets? UCLA football was like 10th out of 12 Pac-12 teams. They were in the dumps. And Colorado was way down there because these numbers were before the Deion Sanders factor. Now they're at the top.
They were like the worst product probably in the
and
the
now
Pac-12
like
era.
and Deion, one guy changed and brought you all the way to the top. So actually, Sam, I erase everything that I just said. What does Utah need to do to get an invite from the Big Ten Conference? Hire Deion Sanders.
Yeah, hire Deion Sanders as Morgan Scalley's defensive coordinator. How about that?
Like, that's not enough. You got to fire Morgan Scalley and hire Deion Sanders. No, thank you. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this from a pessimistic standpoint. Utah's going to end up on the right side of the line when the line is drawn eventually, but the Big Ten expanding to 20 is not when that line is drawn.
No, the other thing that you did not talk about that is going to be on all the national TV shows, it's going to be on First Take, it's going to be on Fox's shows with this report, will Notre Dame join the Big Ten? Which is probably a no because Notre Dame's going to say no, and we like our independence. But that's the other thing you have to consider. One of those spots, every time the Big Ten expands, one spot they're going to reserve for Notre Dame in the event that Notre Dame finally says yes to them, which means there's really only one other spot open each time if it's only two at a time. So that's the other thing you got to consider. The Big Ten is always going to leave a spot for Notre Dame.
Well,
SEC will too.
Brett McMurphy's report says explicitly that Notre Dame is not a candidate.
Well, I mean,
because Notre Dame, not because the Big Ten doesn't want them, but because Notre Dame has no reason to join a conference.
They will probably always say no from now to the rest of time. And so officially, yes, they will say Notre Dame's not a candidate, but unofficially they will always be a candidate.
Well, but when you expand to 20, it's not because the Big Ten will say, we'll be 21 if you'll join Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is always going to say no.
That's a good point.
There's no reason for Notre Dame because Notre Dame has their own television deal that is lucrative. They have their own access to the college football playoff because
they don't need a conference.
The rules are written in such a way that it's like everyone else needs to be on a team except Notre Dame. You're so important to college football that you, by yourself, as a brand, as an entity, you get access to the exclusive club that SEC, it's Alabama and LSU and Ole Miss and all these people and Georgia, they bond together so that they are powerful enough to run things. And the Big Ten, same deal. And yes, they drag some dead weight with them, with Iowa and Maryland and Rutgers and teams like that. But Notre Dame is as powerful by itself as Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Alabama, Georgia, LSU are combined. That is insane, but it is true. And the reason it's true is because television networks have told them that for decades now. Yep. Notre Dame does not need any rival. They don't need USC. They don't need Navy. They don't need Stanford. They don't need anybody to have a television deal. Notre Dame could say to NBC, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep our schedule every year private until we kick off the actual games. And
just play a bunch of – we're going to play an FCS schedule this year.
And NBC would be like, wait, we don't get to know who you're playing? Nope. Just show up with the cameras. We're going to play. Notre Dame is in a different category. Now, Utah is not in that category. BYU likes to pretend that they are Notre Dame light. They're not. Not when it comes to that. BYU, as an independent, was able to cobble together great schedules because of Tom Holmoe. They were able to cobble together their own television network deal because they do have a national presence. A national presence that, to the chagrin of all of us, Utah does not have. If Utah were associated with a uniquely American religion, perhaps they would be in the same situation, but that's not the case. All right? So BYU was able to get a nominal fee for their independent television contract status.
Like more than 3 times as small as Notre Dame's.
Do you know why? Do you know why BYU, even though they were like the poor man's version of Notre Dame with that television deal and their own scheduling. Do you know why they were so eager to jump into whatever conference would have them? Because whatever conference would have them, on the Power 5 level at least, was going to have more negotiating power, more television money, more branding opportunities than BYU could ever attain by itself. Nobody is in the same world as Notre Dame. Utah will never, ever, ever be. BYU will never, ever, ever be. What you have to do if you want to be successful in your lane and you want to climb out of your lane, you want to progress beyond where your lane is you have to acknowledge where that lane is. Because if you're like, hey, man, and this is something we struggle with Utah, because we get the crimson-colored glasses on, and we're just like, Utah's about to go and they're about to mollywop UCLA, a Big Ten team that has twice as much revenue distribution coming their way because they're in the Big Ten Conference. If it were a meritocracy only in college football, Utah would be able to say, hey, UCLA, you're out. We're taking your spot in the Big Ten. But that's not how it goes. And we like to pat ourselves on the back and say, gosh, Utah being so good at football is what got us into the Pac-12 in the first place. It wasn't. Because you joined at the same time that Colorado did, and at that point, Colorado was one of the worst teams and one of the worst programs in the country.
And it's the thing that you don't like to acknowledge is that Utah and Colorado were Larry Scott at the time in the Pac-12s and the Pac-10s, second and third most desirable options because they thought they were getting Texas. They settled for Utah and Colorado.
Here's the thing. I love the idea of Utah in the Big Ten. I know that you're going to get Brett McMurphy loves Utah, by the way. Brett McMurphy is the biggest Kyle Whittingham fan you're ever going to find. So you're going to get love for Utah in these Big Ten expansion
Big
conversations.
Urban Meyer fan too, Brett McMurphy.
Here at the end of the day, I guess your best case, even though I think it's like a 99-1, I think your best case is you squad up with Colorado and you say, look, Denver is an important metro. Salt Lake is becoming an important metro. We are a powerful academic institution. The Big Ten actually legitimately does care about that, although I don't know why. You say, let's do this together. But, again, if this is happening 3-4 years from now, Deion Sanders is not going to be at Colorado. Colorado is not going to be the sideshow that they are right now.
Yeah, he's either going to a bigger school or the NFL, or he's going to be deemed not a success.
Correct. If Deion Sanders continues to win at the University of Colorado, even though they gave him a raise to $10 million a year, Deion ain't staying. Dallas Cowboys head coach, Deion Sanders. Florida State Seminoles head coach, Deion Sanders.
Shoot, Miami. Mario Cristobal might be out by then. He might go to his the rival of the school he played at. And that would be.
Thanks for the phone call. Look at that. We just got. I planned on talking about the Micah Parsons trade, and instead we ended up going on a tangent because we get great interaction from our listeners. Thank you, Sam from South Jordan.
Shout out to Sam. And you know what? We got time in the daily dump to do a Micah Parsons if we want. OC.
That's Big 12 at noon, brought to you by Mountain Land Supply. MountainLandSupply.com for all of your home improvement needs. A daily dump from Valley Plumbing is coming up next. And yes, we shall talk about Micah Parsons heading to Green Bay.
You mean Michael?
What?
Missed the Jerry Jones thing. He called him Michael over and over again.
I didn't see that. ESPN 700, 92 on FM. Daily Dump brought to you by Valley Plumbing. Make sure, when you're doing the Daily Dump that clean up properly with your news stories, that, you only offer the flushable news stories like this one. Micah Parsons, after a contract standoff with the Dallas Cowboys, is headed to Green Bay. Green Bay sends Kenny Clark, a couple of first-round picks to Dallas. Micah Parsons, one of two players in NFL history who have had at least 12 sacks in their first 4 seasons. You've all heard this stat. You all know who the only other person is. You all know that person also ended up with the Green Bay Packers. The Minister of Defense, Reggie White, is the only other guy with 12 sacks in his first 4 seasons. And somehow the Packers got him as well. Jerry Jones does Jerry Jones things. Now, the wildest thing here is if you are a Dallas local, you have watched your basketball team and your football team in the same year trade away the brightest young stars in their franchises. The number 1 jersey seller, the number 1 candidate for future All-Pro, All-NBA, All-Star, Pro Bowl candidacy, the only likely Hall of Famers that you have on the roster right now, you traded them both away. It's as if Dallas, as a fan city, you're just cursed that your favorite player is going to be sent away. I put the question out on Twitter, who did worse with this, the Dallas Cowboys or the Mavericks? I asked Bill Riley that. I think the answer is the Mavs did worse. Even though I think the Mavs got better value back, they still did worse because one individual player in an NBA scenario is far more impactful even than someone of Micah Parsons' caliber is in pro football. That's just like Luka will translate to more wins for whatever team he's playing for than Micah Parsons will. You want the best evidence of that? Just look at the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason the Packers are looked at as a Super Bowl contender now, and they were kind of looked at it that way before this trade, but they certainly are now, is because they had a great team besides Micah Parsons, and now they've added probably the best player at his position to their defense. So your point is well made. Luka made the Lakers a potential championship contender right away because even if they didn't have much else, which they really didn't besides LeBron, they didn't have a ton else, but they were automatically a potential championship contender. That's the difference between football and basketball there.
By the way, in the most Cowboys thing ever, Michael Irvin was doing like an interview.
Yeah.
Concurrent with when the trade was actually being.
It was 2 hours before or something.
And he was just like, I guarantee he's not going to leave. I guarantee that Micah Parsons is going to be
just negotiating ploy.
The weird thing about this, right? I know that Jerry Jones gets trashed, and probably deservedly so, for a lot of the personnel decisions that he made. Dallas has not played in an NFC championship game in 27 years or something insane like that.
Have they been to one since they won a Super Bowl? Maybe just the one, I guess. Yeah.
They are the most underperforming relative to their reputation franchise in all of professional sports right now. And Jerry Jones refuses to loosen his grip on important decisions like this. The wildest thing about it for me is that this was all like dying on a hill of principle for Jerry Jones. He was insistent that he and Micah Parsons had already worked out the contract. And Micah Parsons was just like, okay, but you need to talk to my agent. And Jerry was like, nope. Here's the thing. The Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons could have come to an agreement. Jerry said that in his press conference after, which, by the way, holding a press conference after you've traded a player about that player is another hilarious indication.
He's going to help himself.
That you know that you've, like, you probably, the subconscious knows you've done something wrong, but your actual consciousness thinks like, no, I'm going to go explain to people how right I am here.
And then to say in that press conference that we are actually going to be better next season without Micah Parsons. Just
Las Vegas disagrees,
ridiculous.
by the way, because they went from 50-1 odds to 60-1 odds to win the Super Bowl without Micah Parsons.
I think they're tied with the likes of the Falcons in their odds.
There's just not a lot of belief, right? And Jerry Jones, at the same time, you can go on Netflix and you can watch the way that the gambler built America's team into what they are and got them to be what they are. And it's all worked out so fortuitously for Jerry Jones. But this is a great example of how the game can pass you by, the business world can pass you by, the player personnel world can pass you by. The man, I believe everything he said. When he's like, no, me and Michael worked it out. We sat down. I told him we're going to pay you $40.5 million per year. Let's shake hands. All right, let's shake hands. And that was that in Jerry's mind. In Micah's mind, he's like, let's get my agent involved because that's how I do these things. That's how every player in the NFL, with the exception of Lamar Jackson, does these things.
By the way, in the CBA that you need to do those things if the player does have an agent.
He says, I want him to be involved. And multiple reports, multiple sources, the best ones in the business. The Cowboys themselves, Micah's camp, Adam Schefter confirming that was the last time numbers were exchanged between the Cowboys and Micah Parsons. So this is not even, we couldn't come to an agreement. This is, I shook your hand, and that is our deal. For a guy who's in his 80s and a young man who's in his early 20s who, let's be honest, in any other context in life are not even having an interaction at all. If it's not for owner of the business I work for, I'm the most talented guy in your business. These guys never, ever, ever meet. They never have one discussion. They have zero things in common, these two, except the Dallas Cowboys. And yet, old man Jerry still thinks, I will die on this hill, or I will let the franchise itself die on the hill of my word is my bond, and a handshake is good enough. Guys, if you're talking about a bid that the sprinkler guy gives you, you still have to get it in writing. If you're talking about a bet that you have with your buddy over whether or not Utah is going to beat UCLA this weekend, you could probably rely on the handshake.
Yeah.
That's probably good enough. But this is absolute insanity that the Green Bay Packers get one of the best players in modern-day professional football. I mean, he is a top 5 candidate for Defensive Player of the Year for the remainder of his career.
He was an MVP. Their last good season, 2 years ago, the first half of the season, he was looked at as an MVP.
The Green Bay Packers get that guy for a relative discount because the Dallas Cowboys, America's teams, are owned by an old man who doesn't understand how the business world works now.
Or he previously did, and his mind is going.
Well, that's why I said now. Because, you can't say that Jerry Jones is a bad businessman.
No.
You can't. The way that it worked out for him, I mean, he was an oil man. He leveraged all of his debt to the hilt, and then he got a gusher, one well. It's actually really awesome to see him tell that story. It's pretty inspiring. The American dream, the let's lay it all out there. Let's put all our chips push them to the center of the table. And the way he tells it, which is probably revisionist history, is that he was down to his last borrowed dollar, and the well that he needed to hit ended up producing $100 million of revenue for him. Pumped a bunch of oil out of that one well, and obviously he's done much better since. And the Cowboys are worth, $12 billion. But it doesn't mean, Jerry Jones, that you know what you're doing today when it comes to negotiating contracts with 23-year-olds.
By the way, I never feel like it's as black and white as this with the people around you, the family members of the person who's become incompetent, right? But there's a lot of people that would say Stephen Jones is a problem too because he's not getting in the way of Jerry here. I don't think that it's ever as black and white as that. It's like, well, he probably feels like he can't get in the way. But anyway, I think that there's a little bit. It's fair to question, like, what's Stephen Jones, who's the VP, who's supposed to be the heir apparent, where's he been to try to right this ship and put it in a better direction? I think it's fair to question, but I also am open to, hey, like, I can't say no to my dad boss, okay? So I don't know.
So in 2021, the Dallas Cowboys drafted Micah Parsons. He is phenomenal, right? 2022, Tyler Smith. 2023, Mazzie Smith. 2024, Tyler Guyton. 2025, Tyler Booker. So let's say that the Dallas Cowboys feel like, all right, we didn't want to pay Micah $47 million a year on average, which, by the way, is what the Green Bay Packers are paying him. That's a lot of money.
It probably is an overpay, even though Micah Parsons is incredible.
The number, by the way, 5 years ago on how much your average yearly value was on your contract based on sacks was about $1.5 to $2 million per sack per year, right? So if you were a 12 sack a year guy, you were going to get $20 to $25 million. Now you're talking about a 12, 13, 14 sack guy making 4X on his sack numbers effectively.
Yeah.
That's insane. He's the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. He's the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the league, and that's going to be the case with whoever signs the next one. It's a crazy number. So I'm fine if the Dallas Cowboys were never going to reach $47 million, but you got a really good interior D lineman who doesn't improve your pass rush, doesn't solve one of the biggest problems for you. Now that you got rid of Micah Parsons.
Oh, but Jerry will tell you they're going to be better. He did tell you they're going to be better at stopping the run, so that makes them a better team.
And you also now have to rely on Jerry Jones to draft the right guys to replace to get the value back off this.
By the way, late in the first round. These are not great first-round picks they got.
It's dumb, man. Like, I'm all for an explanation that says $47 million a year is too much to pay a non-quarterback. I'll listen to that. I'll agree with you on that one, Jerry. To say Kenny Clark and a couple of draft picks, that's better for us Dallas Cowboys. No, it's not. It's not at all, actually.
It's not.
That's just definitively, objectively untrue. You screwed this one up bad. And I'm happy about it because I despise the Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I don't want to see them be successful. I want to see them continue to be a punchline. This ain't going to work out.
But a part of you hates, if you're like me, a part of you hates incompetence in organizations that are supposed to be competent, more than competent, right? And so if you're like me, OC, part of you is like, even though I don't care or I hate the idea of the Cowboys being good ever, I hate that they screwed it up this royally bad even more. Because it's really disgusting to watch organizations who are supposed to be awesome screw things up this badly.
Here's my recommendation, Dallas Cowboys. The Daily Dump for you, brought to you by Valley Plumbing. Go ahead and dump Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if you just take Jerry out to an oil field to look at one of the oil wells? Yeah, you say, hey, can I borrow your cell phone? And you just leave him out there. What happens? Just leave him out there. See if he can even make it back. That's your test. Like, he's not going to die. He's going to wander onto some ranch. He's not going to know where he's at. He's like, I own the Cowboys. They're going to be like, dude, you're just a senile old man out here in a cowboy hat.
It's like, yeah, I own the Cowboys too, old man. What can I do for you?
I also own the Cowboys. What are you doing? You want some iced tea? Like, just get him away from the organization. But don't, because I want you to continue to suck. All right, we take a quick one here. Paramount Sports' Lee Sterling joins us next to handicap the games for the weekend. It is a full slate. Week 1 in college football. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Reminder, our good friends at Big Willie's, they've got you set for the opening weekend of college football. Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday night. You've got college games all across this opening weekend. You need somewhere to watch them that takes the food out of the equation for you. You don't have to cook. You don't have to clean your own kitchen. Big Willie's, they've got the craft food menu. They've got the craft cocktails. They've got the beers on draft. 1717 South Main. Tell them OC sent you. They're going to hook you up. And the best part about the entrees, they come with a side that could be an entree all by itself. Normally, when you get like a burger, they'll be like, okay, burger, you want some veggies, you want a side salad, you want some fries. You can get that at Big Willie's. But oftentimes, the daily special is, here's a burger, and the side is an order of wings. How do you want your wings? Oh, I love it. They know we're hungry, Utah fans. 1717 South Main, Big Willie's, tell them OC sent you. We welcome in Lee Sterling, number one handicapper in the business. Talk about the lines and the numbers on this weekend's games. Lee, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. What happens, if they're not having a good day and you weren't great to them? Do they put them in the back of the kitchen or something? You gotta do some dishes before they get their food.
No, that never. I mean, I guess James, my producer James, he'll show up sometimes without his wallet, and they'll make him wash some dishes. But that's about the only time, you know.
But that's fair. That's fair, right?
It's good enough.
We'll work for food. Work for food, right?
Yeah. Lee, what'd you think of that Nebraska game last night? Kind of ugly, kind of sloppy. The box score is an absolute nightmare to look at, but a fun game.
Well, the thing about Nebraska, I think they're improving slightly. A lot of teams looked slightly better or slightly worse. The only two teams I think that really jumped off, well, maybe like Ohio, they almost won their game. But two teams that really jumped out was the South Florida game. I mean, they look really good. And now all of a sudden, you might see that Florida-South Florida game and the South Florida-Miami game the week after. Those might be primetime games. And then Boise's got some real problems. They really miss Austin Gentry. But getting back to Nebraska, I felt that they were slightly improved. They used to commit so many penalties and turnovers on special teams. That was better, and also Raiola did not turn the ball over, no interceptions. So I thought that was better for him. But the talent level, I don't see them being that good. I mean, they could win. They might win 9 or 10 games this year, Sean, and people might say they're still not that good.
Yeah, we'll see how
easy schedule.
We'll see how it plays out with the schedule, the soft schedule for Nebraska. But we're all glad college football is back. We got some interesting ones on the slate this weekend. Tonight, a big night for the Big 12 Conference. This Auburn-Baylor matchup, I think, is hopefully a good showcase opportunity for Dave Aranda and company. Auburn, 2.5-point favorites right now against Baylor. How do you see it?
Remember, usually Vegas gets it right, setting a number. So I'm watching Baylor games from last year, and I'm writing notes. And one of my notes is, I don't think they're that good. They didn't beat anyone good last year. They did win 8 games, and they have 18 starters returning. But usually teams that win 8, 9 games, they got 30, 35 sacks. They only had 23 sacks last year. They gave up 35 or more points 5 times. Now, Jackson Arnold isn't going to propel Auburn into a 9-10 win team, but how do you evaluate a guy when he had a horrible offensive line and his top 5 receivers were out before the first game and never returned? So I think with some very good receivers, top 10 receivers, Auburn is going to be a tough out for Baylor here, whose pass defense was ranked just 60th last year. I think Vegas got it right here. I think Auburn's going to win and cover 31-23.
An old familiar foe for Utah fans, Bronco Mendenhall, is back in the state. He's up in Logan. He opens his Aggies campaign as a 6-point favorite against Texas El Paso, the old Miners of UTEP. Do the Aggies get it done and cover?
Were you a little surprised that he ended up back at Utah State? He just does this big circle around the United States.
I was surprised that he wanted the Utah State job because, when he stepped down at Virginia, it seemed like he was kind of peeling back from just being a coach. And then New Mexico, like that's his home state. That's where he's from. Yeah. I was like, okay, so he's gonna go win 7 or 8 games every year at New Mexico. They'll never fire a coach down there who can achieve that level of success, and he'll just finish out his career that way. But he didn't. He's in Logan now. I love it because he brought some of my friends with him who were on his staff at New Mexico. But I was surprised to see it. Yeah.
And I'm hearing there's going to be some money invested in the program, correct?
Supposedly, and it's not like there's no money up there in Logan. We, our own owner and boss is a former Aggie, so there's definitely ways that you could cash in if you start winning. And Bronco's good at winning football games. He's a great coach, whether you like him or not.
And I love him. I talked to him one time after one of the spring games. Never forget this. And he told me, he said, listen, my key is if I can get a quarterback into a 3rd and 6 or longer, I think I'm going to be successful a lot because I'm going to make him get rid of the ball quickly. And he brings pressure. I just don't think with 70 new players on the roster, he's going to be able to do it that quickly. I was evaluating this UTEP roster, and a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I had them 123rd out of 132 teams. Now there's 136 teams. I have now ranked it 86th here, and I just think with Nelson a quarterback, they're going to be better here. I'm calling for the upset. I think Utah State will be better as the season progresses. Might just take them time. They're going to shock everyone. UTEP 31-28.
It is a big ask to get that many players on the same page that quickly up there in Logan. Catholics versus convicts. I love it.
Yep.
Notre Dame, Miami. Notre Dame 2.5 points favorites. What do you got?
So weather could be a factor. We're hearing possibly rain for 24 to 48 hours straight here in Miami. And if that's the case, both teams will run the ball. And Jeremiah Love, really good for Notre Dame. He almost had 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns last year. Miami, huge offensive line. They go three guys that are 6'7" to 6'9", that weigh 338 or heavier. And they got three running backs that are really good. They can interchange here. I think the difference here might be home field. It's going to be rocking. Now, a lot of times you turn on the TV and you see Miami at Hard Rock, 20, 25,000 empty seats. Not the case. When it is packed like it will be, and they're opening up the tailgating 12 hours before the game, first time ever, it's going to be jumping here. And I just think Carson Beck has an advantage here over C.J. Carr, who's never taken a snap in college football. Miami in a low-scoring game, 23-20.
I hate hearing it, but yeah, freshman quarterback versus a guy who's been on the biggest stage before. Hard to debate that with you. The game of the weekend, the big rollout, is Ohio State, Texas. And Texas, the number one team in the country, is a dog for the first time in history relative to the preseason rankings, at least. Yep. Ohio State 2-point favorites. How do you see it?
So it's a new year. Ohio State was the better team last year, even though Texas had a chance to tie it with under 4 minutes to go, and who knows why. Steve Sarkisian went to the shotgun and tried to toss sweep out of a shotgun at the 1 yard line. He'll never run that play on Saturday, trust me. And I just think that Ohio State's down a touch, and they've got a brand new quarterback, Julian Sand, never taken a snap against Arch Manning. They lost 7 of 9 of their top tacklers, so they don't have Jack Sawyer to save them again this year. And I just think I went by every position group except for receiver. I think Texas has the edge here. Revenge is sweet. I like Texas. Wrong team favored, 24-21.
Lee Sterling's got the Longhorns in this one. Jumping ahead to Monday night. Again, important game for the Big 12 Conference. TCU gets the honor again of welcoming the media's darling, the star coach, to his turn in college sports. They were the team that took on Deion Sanders in his first game at Colorado, and now they welcome Bill Belichick to the college ranks. TCU 3.5-point favorites against North Carolina. How does it play out?
I think Bill Belichick, he may not have quite the talent he wants altogether there yet, but you give him 3 months to scheme to slow down an offense in front of a packed crowd. He's done it with mediocre defenses in New England. Now he's got a quarterback, Gio Lopez, transfers from South Alabama. I think it gives him a fighting chance at dual-threat quarterback. So TCU, it didn't beat anyone good last year either here. North Carolina at home, 28-27. Bill gets it done. All
right. Lee's got a couple upsets on the week here. I saved the best for last, obviously. Yep. Utah, UCLA. I've seen this line fluctuating 5.5, 6.5, but the Utes are favored here. What do you think of the Bruins and Utah's chances on the road?
Yeah, so 10 of the 12 Bruin games last year, less than 51 points scored allowed total. They're going to have to keep it low if they want to have a chance here in this game. We're going to see, obviously, a lot more spread schemes and RPO from Utah, and I think that's a good thing. Offense was challenged last year. UCLA 2-2 last year as a home dog. Utah just 15-18-1 the last 10 years as a road favorite. I think Utah's going to escape here, 24-20, but I take the 5.5, 6 points. I think it's going to be a one-possession game.
Well, we're fine with UCLA covering as long as Utah wins. Got to get to 1-0. I could see this one. I mean, you're trotting out two new quarterbacks. One's been playing in the same system. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all works out down there in Pasadena. My question is, Is there more red or is there more powder blue in the stands for this game?
Could be equal. Could be about 50-50. Last night, how about that Nebraska crowd?
Wow.
About 95% of the fans in Kansas City were from Nebraska, so they travel.
Lee, it's always great hearing from you.
Yep.
We'll chat again next week. Good luck this weekend.
Sounds good. See ya.
That's Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports. Check him out. All of his picks are available at Paramount Sports. He has been year over year over year over year over year one of the most consistent and successful handicappers in the business. This is his job. This is what he does. And by the way, he puts in a lot of work. He puts in a lot of research. Football, he played college football, right? So football has been something that he's known for a long time. He got into the MMA world, and now he's got a great analytical mind in MMA because he does the homework. So if you're so inclined, Paramount Sports is where you find Lee Sterling and his picks and all of his specials for Labor Day weekend. The first Coordinator's Corner of the season with Morgan Scalley is next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Coordinator's Corner here, and we'll start with the man in charge of Utah's defense, Morgan Scalley, head coach in waiting, defensive coordinator, friend of the program here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Morgan, welcome. How are you, sir?
OC, we're back at it, brother. Another season. Here we go.
And it is game week. I mean, we talk a lot about the consistency and how long it's been done really kind of the same way at the University of Utah, 21st year of Kyle Whittingham's tenure as the head man, and you've been a big part of all those seasons effectively. So how has it changed? Has the game day routine evolved since being a Power 4 squad, or really in any way or at any time?
Oh, brother, I think, schematically things have changed here and there, not a ton. What it takes to win still hasn't changed, in terms of the plan to win and playing physical. It's a physical sport, and usually your toughest teams mentally and physically are the teams that come out on top. The recruiting's changed, the recruiting calendar, the transfer portal, all things NCAA compliance. Yeah, but as the years go on, I think what it takes to win still hasn't changed.
So you've got to head down to the Rose Bowl for a night game against UCLA, a program that you are certainly familiar with, but a lot of fresh faces. Things change so rapidly in college football now. Whose film are you watching to prepare for this game? Because you've got a Tennessee quarterback, you've got a coordinator who didn't come from UCLA or from Tennessee. How do you make sure you cobble together the right film study to prepare for what's coming on Saturday night?
Well, schematically, you got to do what you got to do. The Cincinnati guys coming from Indiana, and so schematically, it's going to be a mix of what he wants to do that's new, plus the stuff that he's already been used to at James Madison and at Indiana. And then in terms of personnel, you've been watching everything. Guys that have transferred in, guys that have remained at UCLA. So the quarterback, obviously, from Tennessee. You got a lineman from Kentucky. You got linemen from different places. The running back from Cal transferring. Mikey Matthews transferring from Cal as well. So we've been watching every film we can get our hands on that's going to tell us about this squad.
What unique problems does Nico Iamaleava present as a quarterback?
I would say his height, number one, his ability to not have to get a deep drop in the pocket. He sits around 7.5 yards and comfortably is able to throw from that pocket. You take a guy like the Arizona quarterback from last year, because of how short he is, having to take deeper drops. So now you're really limited in terms of a speed rush off the edge. He can run the ball and run it effectively, and he's physical. He's not a guy that looks to slide, that looks to go down. He'll dip his shoulder. He's a tough kid. I have a ton of respect for him and his game, and he's only going to get better, right, as he develops. So extremely talented kid that we're excited to play. And then from a skill standpoint, their wide receivers are very talented. We know about Mikey. You've got number 3 who can stretch the field, number 2, and I go by jersey numbers, not necessarily names, so I apologize there,
no,
OC. But
that's what
Titus,
coaches do, Morgan. We know that.
I know. Titus is number 2, and he's been there at UCLA. We faced him, but very good skill set. And then the transfer from Cal has got a ton of speed. I mean, you watch him play against Miami, play against Auburn, and he's running away from those dudes. So he's got breakaway home run potential, and we got to be sound.
When you talk about the need to be sound, there's a certain level of consistency with this defensive scheme, with you as the guy calling the plays, personnel coming back. I think we're excited about the Smith Snowdens of the world, the Lander Bartons. I'm a big Levani Demooney fan. There is a level of prove it with your defensive front, which is kind of a weird thing for a Utah football fan to say. Now, we've played all your quotes, and we've heard you saying I'm optimistic that we have the right group and we have the right guys. How do you know as a coach when the bullets haven't been live yet, so to speak, when you got a bunch of these young guys that are looking good in practice, how do you know if it's going to translate on Saturday night and beyond?
Well, you don't. You try and simulate as much as you can a game type atmosphere. And the good thing is we've got very good coaches in Luther Ellis and Lewis Powell to get these guys where we feel like they're ready. But confidence comes from repeated demonstrated performance, and we feel like throughout spring and fall camp, they've been able to go up against a pretty dang good offensive line and hold their own. So, but you're right. There's nothing like a Saturday night when the lights are on to really expose you for who you are. And so we're excited for these guys to get the opportunity. And some guys have already proven it, and it's just a matter of progressing and getting better. Dallas Vakala, he's one of them. Maliki Vima, he's another one. Jonah Lea'ea is a guy that this is going to be really his first opportunity to show what he can do under the lights with the added weight. Love his athleticism. And then you've got these young freshmen, which, you have the added element of, is it too big of a moment, for some of these young guys, and some guys flourish in that environment and some guys struggle. So that's just going to be a matter of us really paying attention to how things are going. And, but we're excited, because they've proven what they're capable of doing. And now it's just executing when it matters most.
Utah defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking about the upcoming matchup with UCLA and, of course, the defensive outlook for this 2025 season as they roll out the campaign. How do you anticipate managing the rotation in the pass rush? We all long for the return of Sac Lake City and, a proficient group there. How do you think that rotation is going to go? How many guys do you trust at this moment?
We trust the 5 defensive ends. Yeah, 5 defensive ends, and you're looking around 5 D tackles. And, we've done our studies on when the body starts to break down within a drive, and all drives aren't counted equal. So the good thing is that we feel we've got depth to be able to rotate, and that's just going to be a matter of play selection and the number of plays per drive. But I would say 5 defensive ends and 5 D tackles.
The safety position, I know, doesn't matter a whole lot in this Utah defensive scheme, but we got
Thank
some.
you.
No, look, obviously it's massive, and Utah is known for producing and developing great safeties, and we're optimistic about some of the bodies that you've got. But who has really, if anyone, who's emerged this year as someone that is going to force themselves into your decision making and into the rotation? Maybe even someone you didn't think would be.
Yeah, I think just the 3 that you saw last year with Teo, Rabbit, and Nate is the same 3 you're going to see this year. And, the growth of Nate Tillman as a freshman, he's proving that he can do it and do it early. And so excited about him, as well as, Brock Fenoy Moana is return missionary who's shown flashes throughout fall camp. So that's kind of the depth there. And then, at the corner positions, you've got Smith, you've got Scooby, you've got Blake Cotton, Donovan Saunders, Jeremiah Caldwell. That's where you're going to probably see more of a rotation than you would at safety, because of the depth there. And so Jackson Benny at the nickel spot, we're pretty excited about the secondary.
Coach Witt surprised us at Big 12 Media Days when he just volunteered the information that Lander Barton and Smith Snowden would be playing some offensive snaps this year. And, great. That's fun. That's exciting. How much push and pull is there when, your 2 of your best defensive players get called over to the other side of the ball to do some special duties?
It's not as bad. I mean, it's not as tough as it was with Sione Vaki. Sione Vaki, you were talking about a good amount of carries for Sione in those game plans. So that was a little bit more of a struggle to get the schedule right, where you could get him on both sides of the ball. But with Smith and Lander, they're pretty much full-time defensive players, but then they have a package on the offensive side.
Speaking of packages, we've seen in years past where personnel might dictate some special scenario things that you're able to do. The old express package, I think it was called, where you went real heavy and you had extra defensive linemen on the field. You've been tinkering with anything in the offseason that we might see here in 2025 along those lines?
Oh, I think you just try and to me, it's a game-by-game situation based on offensive personnel and what they allow you to do. Some teams don't allow you, for example, to speed things up at the line of scrimmage on a 3rd and long, to not necessarily allow you to get into a different defensive package. Some offenses, Leach was this way, where from snap one, you had to have a different defensive personnel group out there. Stanford, another one that you're like, okay, we got to handle these guys differently. When Harbaugh was there and Shaw with the 22 personnel, the 21 personnel, the tight ends and running backs that they used. But the good thing is that we've got, skill at the defensive end spot to be able to get creative, enough linebackers and secondary players to get creative. So to me, it's you have, a base pass rush package, but then you can tinker with it based on, what team you're going up against and what they do.
There's very few questions that come to our show from the fan base about what your defense is going to be. Everyone just assumes, well, Morgan Scalley and this defense are going to be great. And I suppose you like that, but there's a certain level of pressure to it. How do you process the idea that, you have to be good if this is Utah football? The defense kind of leads the way.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see it like that. I guess I just, what can I control, and are guys getting better? I can't go off of the pressures that people put on us or there's levels and things that you have to do to play great defense, and that's what we focus on, and behavior will always trump scheme. Are you guys tackling well? Are your guys playing with inside hands? Are they, how's their footwork? All that stuff. Those are the things. And as long as I'm able to keep it simple and not listen to outside noise, we'll continue to do a good job. But we've got great kids, and we expect them to want to compete and expect them to want to get better every day. And I think it's okay to have those expectations.
Last thing before I let you go, handicap your own Utah offense for me, since you've been having to deal with them through camp and all that. And, of course, we're hoping for good things on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm hoping for good things too. I going up against these guys, it's the reason that we like this offense. Looking at what Jason did at New Mexico, the different things that they do that really require a defensive coordinator to have some answers, the formation and the boundary stuff, the rhino tight end, the shifts, the motions, the Q run game. I'm excited to see them go up against another defense, and there's going to be growing pains and challenges along the way. That's not different than anyone else in college football. But really excited because I love the energy that they have and the leadership that's being provided on the offensive line and from Devin. So it should be a pretty fun group to watch.
Well, looking forward to a great year. Good luck on Saturday night at the Rose Bowl. Appreciate your time as always, and look forward to our next conversation. Thank you, Morgan.
Appreciate you, brother, and the work that you do. I know it's not easy. You're a stud. Thanks again.
Yeah, the coaching thing is easy. This radio stuff, that's hard. Morgan Scally, he could never pull it off. No, I love you, dude. Thank you.
Love you back. See ya.
Morgan Scally, defensive coordinator, always great catching up with him. That conversation brought to you by Ivory Holmes. Coordinator's Corner is going to be brought to you every single week. Next week it will be the offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, and we'll rotate back and forth. We're going to do our best to also have an opportunity to catch up with Kyle Whittingham as much as we can throughout the season. And, of course, we'll try to get players and assistant coaches on. But every week you're going to hear from Devin Dampier on Thursdays. You're going to hear from the coordinators on Fridays. You're going to hear from the Utah football legends, the Trevor Rileys and the Eric Weddles, and we'll attack every angle we possibly can during the Utah football season.
Yeah, and the good news is because we're not able to get Kyle Whittingham on too often on either this show or the Drive with Spence Checketts or whatever during the season. Good news is you can hear from him every week on the coaches show, at least on game weeks, with Bill Riley on the station at 6:00 on Tuesdays. So, but yes, we'll probably be able to get him on a few times on this show and or the Drive with Spence throughout the season.
All right, you know what time it is. It's time to air our grievances, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break. You can craft your grievance carefully. Tweet it to me at RealOC Sports. You can text it at 877-353-0700. We've already had some people throughout the show sending in their grievances.
I promise I'll answer your phone call if you call, too.
We'd love to hear a verbal grievance.
Like our guy Sam from South Jordan. He didn't have a grievance for us earlier, but he had a great question for us.
He might have a grievance now because of how
Sam, call us back.
Dismissive I was of the idea that Utah could. I mean, and you know what? I appreciate our listeners because people heard that and they've cited sources saying, like, look, they're saying Utah, Kansas, these are real viable candidates. I hope I'm wrong and that you are right. I would be the first person lining up for the Utah in the Big Ten party. I wouldn't buy the gear because I'm very anti-conference-centered gear, okay? But the party,
as I found out yesterday with my Utah Big 12 shirt.
With your Big 12 shirt, the Big 12 logo was bigger than the Utah logo. What are we doing?
Grievance with the red zone, apparently, with that one.
Grievance with your fashion choices today, Mr. Ohio State uniform.
Hey, we're beating Texas tomorrow. Come on.
Let's
go. Let's go.
Okay, so get ready to air your grievances. Do it now. Do it next on the Sean O'Connell Show, Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Bring them in, people. 877-353-0700. Tell me your grievances. You can call in. You can text in. You can tweet at me at RealOCSports. Coming in on the text line from 6200. Hey, airing your grievances today. This is from like a couple hours ago. Couldn't even wait till 1:30 to get it off the chest. That means it's an actual grievance.
Yeah, that's the luxury of the text line or tweets. You can send them in early. We'll just read them at 1:30.
My grievance is the fans losing all air in the stadium anytime something happens that isn't in our favor. Rice Eccles is supposed to be loud, hard place to play, but sometimes it feels like no one is cheering for half the game. Sat in many different sections for almost every home game the last few years. Feel like I'm always the loudest one around. Let's keep the home field advantage even when we're down. Excited for the season and go Utes. Okay, so you want a louder Rice Eccles Stadium as the grievance. Consistently louder. Now, there is an element to our fandom in Salt Lake City for the Jazz, for the Mammoth, although that's brand new, for the Utes.
RSL.
Where we're just like, we get real fair weather about it, and people, as soon as one bad thing happens, oh, come on! That's fine if you want to be mad, but just be loud mad, according to 6200.
I agree with that one. There's been plenty of recent, now not all that recent, unfortunately, but I'll still say recent Jazz playoff games in the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert era, where I was like, why is this place that with these fans that say that they're the best in the NBA, this is the loudest building in the NBA, why does it feel like I'm in church right now? Like that certainly happens. It's not unique to Utah fans. Jazz fans do it too. Some of you the same, right? But and I would think that happens in other places around the country too. But like, yeah, I'm with that one. When the team isn't doing well, that's when the home team needs the fan support, needs the loudness and stuff. Like let's turn it up a notch, even when they're not giving us too much to cheer about.
All right, this one, listening from Oregon today, 1943. Shout out to you for listening on the app. My grievance is with people who act put out doing their job. I'm a potential paying customer. Why act like I'm a burden? People who are at work who have a bad attitude for no apparent reason. This one I get torn on because you're absolutely right. Every one of us has bad days at work, and so we should give a little leeway on that. But, man, it's hard to have that perspective when you walk into a place and you're just like, hey, could you help me out? I'm looking for this item. Or hey, I would like to order this menu off of your food item. And the people are just like, bleh. Like, dude, I get it. It's work. But, like, suck it up. Game face it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, any forward-facing customer service job is not the worst job in the world, all right? You're not coal mining out there.
No. I mean, there's certainly moments, and this is not quite like in-person forward-facing. Like, there's moments, I've worked in call centers. There's moments where I'm like, this is hell.
Dude,
and I'm sure it's the same for like retail or whatever, where you're actually face-to-face with your customers. But, yeah, I'm with you. There's nuance to it because we're all human and we should give each other the benefit of the doubt. We don't know what that worker's going through personally, and they're like, I have to work. But at the same time, I don't think it's unfair to say, hey, like at least fake it.
Be professional. Here, 1943, to put more context on it, listening from Oregon, I've been out here 3 days. I've had multiple negative encounters with people. Either walking into a business or over the phone. Yeah, Oregon, our grievance is perhaps with you.
Yeah, we don't do that in Utah.
And guess what? That's why we're going to get the Major League Baseball team that you've been campaigning for almost a decade now. Suck it, Oregon.
In your face, Oregon.
Yeah. Ha! Gotcha. 7138, airing this grievance. Getting paired up with golfers that play from the long tees and slow down play looking for their balls en route to shooting over 100. Come on now. One of the worst things that can happen in any competitive world, in any situation, is people not understanding where they are at. competitively, right? If
self-awareness is key, people.
If you're signing up for a tournament and you're a novice and you try to enter the master or the expert level because you just want to challenge yourself, wrong, dumb. You're slowing it down for everyone. If you're at the pickleball court, right, and there's always a traffic jam, there's always people waiting, and it's just like, oh, you want to play? How good are you? I'm pretty good. How good are you? Oh, I'm great. I'm awesome. I play every day. And you're terrible? Guess what? You're just making it bad for everyone. Just admit.
Guess what? I don't play ever, and I'm still way better than you. So how are you playing every day and it's bad?
Just don't mess it up by being delusional about your own abilities, right?
Yeah.
When I go play pickup basketball, James, and it's rare, but if someone's like, hey, church ball, we
need a man.
You're literally the last person we would think to call. I'm just like, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be terrible. And you know what? You set that expectation. Don't pass me the ball. I'll rebound. Okay, I'll play some defense. I'll probably foul a couple people.
I'll probably get some flagrant fouls.
If anyone starts fake cursing at me, throwing fetch or frick in my direction, they're going to get real curse words back.
We're going to throw some hands.
Okay? You set the expectation. You let everyone know where it's at.
Real curse words back.
And then everyone's happy.
You can't conform to the fetch in the Lord's house for a basketball game, OC?
First of all, We're not in the tabernacle, okay? We're in the basketball court. All right?
This isn't the this isn't the chapel, all right?
You don't get to tell me, hey, this is the Lord's house. Really?
Hey guys, we're in church.
The Lord's house has 2 regulation 10-foot hoops in it. Come on. How far does the holiness extend?
The whole building, OC. Okay. Come on now.
All right. I mean, that's
where the fetch do you get off, OC?
Yeah, exactly. Well, if that's the case, then guess what? He knows the intention behind your fake swear. So just say the real thing, coward. All right?
I love that tangent we just went on.
Grievance. People camping in left lanes on I-15. Also worried about Witt doing the football equivalent of that for Beck. What? No, that's not going to happen. Everyone stop. Grievance. Grievance with people being pessimistic about Kyle Whittingham, taking the wind out of Jason Beck's sails before he's even called an official snap at the University of Utah.
Let's wait and see how it is before we start judging it, all right? How about that? This also, you've made the point here over and over again, OC. This might be a completely different Kyle Whittingham that we're dealing with here, because this might be his last year. He might just be like, where in the past he might have been more inclined to be more involved in the offensive game plan. This year he might just be like, you know what? I hired you for a reason. This is my last year anyway. Let's do your thing.
Grievance. Why is college football so hard to get all the various channels? Every year I hate it. Got to get Sling, Fox Sports 1, CBS Sports, YouTube TV, Paramount, ESPN, Hulu, just to make sure you get all the games. Got to get 5 different free trials, and ends up costing way more than it should each year. There's got to be a better way. Also, I love this time of year. That's a valid grievance from an Alaska phone number. Shout out to you, 4611.
Sounds like he's doing it wrong, though.
You just came up with a genius idea. Here's what needs to happen, okay? Me and you are going to go into business together, 4611. We're gonna every fall for $100 a month, we're just going to say, this is the college football package. Every college football game broadcast anywhere is on your TV with, I don't know, the 4611 brand.
Can I say this, though?
Nope, don't push back on grievances, James.
It sounds like he's doing it wrong.
Are you ungrievancing a grievance?
I kind of am, because...
How do you do it wrong? You really do. If you want... Because, we've had
YouTube TV has all of that. By the way, they have Fox. They've made an agreement. They have Fox too right now. They have all the Fox and ESPN channels. That they have NBC. They have CBS. That's like almost all of the games you're gonna watch are on those channels. And then there's an occasional game on ESPN Plus and Peacock. Like, those are the only other 2 things you might need a free trial for. You don't need you need 3 things at the most. If you have a YouTube TV or Hulu Live TV, Sling, by the way, divides it up in 2 different packages. Don't get Sling.
Can you find
that? There's the answer.
The new Pac-12 extension with CW. You got that on your YouTube TV?
CW is on YouTube TV.
All right. Well, sorry about your grievance. James is not allowing you to have it.
Sorry. I'm sorry that you didn't figure that out, Texter. I apologize that you have that grievance because you didn't figure that out.
Grievance, when you pull up to a red light, it turns green. The person behind you immediately honks at you.
Yeah. You gotta give it a second or two.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000.
Then honk.
Beep, beep.
Yeah.
Friendly beep. Beep, beep.
Yeah, and
Beep, beep.
don't lay on it. Just the little, did it.
If you get to 5, right?
You can lay on that.
1 alligator, 2 alligator, 3 alligator,
And
4
you're
alligator,
you're
5 alligator.
pass rushing in flag football.
And you're peeling around them.
I am one that's like I for whatever reason, my habit is to treat the intersection like it's the start line of a race. Like I don't even wait the half a second most of the time. Like it's green, it's clear, I'm going.
Hey,
but so I get like, why do we have to wait the second and a half to realize it's green and hit the gas pedal? But it's the norm. People do that.
okay, I'm going to air a grievance with the friends and family of Dylan Raiola, the Nebraska starting quarterback. We talked about this a little bit early in the show. Today, every sports, the tongue-in-cheek sports blog, the Deadspins of the world, the Barstools, right now this kid, he's 20 years old, okay? And I maybe shouldn't call him a kid because he's making probably 4 times as much money per year as any of us are. But he is being dragged and mocked and made fun of today because he's trying to become Patrick Mahomes on television. Now, is it a weirdo look for him? Absolutely, yes. He's got the same facial hair, the same haircut, the same fashion choices, the same sunglasses. He does the same pregame warm-up, like rehearsed. Last night, he did the weird little finger tick thing, telling his teammates to come back for a huddle. He's absolutely just assuming the identity. He's appropriating Mahomes culture here.
The school he plays for is red colors.
Wears the same number. Like all the things, he took all the things that you do to honor your favorite player. Like I want to wear the same number as that guy. And he made it weird, okay? But you get a little bit of a pass when you're young. If you're Dominic Raiola, the dad who is the reason that there's a connection between Patrick Mahomes and Dylan Raiola, you go, hey, dude, hey, son, you're taking it too far, man. It looks really weird, and in college football / NFL football / locker room worlds, you look like a psycho, and it's embarrassing, so stop it. Get a different haircut, shave the ugly goatee, just wear a different pair of sunglasses. It's very strange.
Get a different routine, too.
And look,
come on.
We've all done stupid stuff. The difference between this and when I was doing stupid stuff, when I was wearing cowboy hats everywhere when I was 20 years old, is my friends were just like, dude, you're not a cowboy. When you're just walking around downtown, don't wear a cowboy hat. They make fun of you enough that you question your own choices. That's what friends are for. Does Dylan Raiola not have anyone being like, bro, people are now dissecting your mannerisms and comparing them to Patrick Mahomes because you're just copying everything he does? I have a big problem with the folks around Dylan Raiola right now. Grievance with all of you. It is your job to protect your friends from themselves. If your friend is the crazy girlfriend or the crazy boyfriend, your job as the friend to be like, hey, man, don't get yourself sucked into this. That person's a psycho, okay? That's your job as a friend. If I start wearing stupid clothes, it's your job as my friend to be like, don't do that, man. If I start impersonating, if I came, James, and I sat down in this chair every day and I just did my best Dan Patrick impersonation, tried to mimic every single thing he does for 3 hours.
Nobody.
Then somebody, lots of bodies,
somebody
would be like, hey, OC, that's weird. Stop doing it.
Dan would probably get wind of it and be like,
Be like,
I think I have a stalker in Salt Lake City.
And then I'd be the one who was being made fun of all the time.
Yeah.
This is a Dylan problem that extends to everyone in his circle. Issue. Grievance.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
Did you see the snarky text? Is his tight end also dating a pop star? That'd be taking it a whole other
The weirdest thing about it is that Patrick Mahomes was in the building last night.
They met, right? They had to have had a face-to-face.
They have like some kind of like, hey, I'm proud of you. Like,
okay. They do have a relationship.
They have like he's gone to like a Mahomes camp or something. Like,
okay.
They're not strangers.
Well, his dad's connections to the NFL probably helps that too.
But how weird is it for Patrick Mahomes to be like watching, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, the future Swift Kelce's or Kelce Swifts. I get if you're Travis, do you have to get the hyphenated name with Swift first?
I mean, I don't think I would mind doing that if I was married to Taylor Swift. Just saying.
Wow. I hope your wife's not listening right now.
Or
I hope your wife.
Man.
Dump that. Your wife's going to be like, grievance.
As I'm holding your child.
You wouldn't take my name, but Taylor Swift's you would. James, that was not your best move on air.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
All right.
Also, I will say that we did get a response from the grievance about all the things all the channels and services you have to buy to watch college football. He said YouTube is more expensive. My way is the cheapest. I'm like, you're right. Just come up with like 1,000 different emails and keep getting free trials. That is a lot cheaper.
1624 weighing in again. Grievance. Karens suck. Entitlement in today's society is horrible. If you've never worked retail or customer service, you cannot get mad at the workers. Customers practically never right, so let's stop with all that. Ho, ho, ho. But I have worked in customer service. I have worked in the service industry. I've been a bartender. I worked at Olive Garden, for hell's sake. Like, you're right. There are bad customers, but let's not pretend there's not also bad workers. 1624.
Yeah, it's not. The customer is always right is not actually true.
It's totally incorrect.
But it's not. But that doesn't mean the workers are always right.
Correct.
Too.
Also, that
like,
the customer. It's not the customer is always right. It's not the customer is never right. It's that customers and workers are human beings, and there should be a base
Sometimes
level.
They're wrong.
Base level of respect and decency when you're interacting with other human beings in your professional setting, especially. I'll give you a great example of this. We'll call it a grievance. I'm not going to call out the particular utility that I was dealing with, but let me tell you that here in Salt Lake City, I live in Salt Lake City, there's only a few options when you're talking about your home utilities,
you're
right?
You're probably going to figure out who he's talking about if you live in Salt Lake City.
So I had an issue where, I had to get a repair done, and I called to make sure, I want to make sure that this repair took and that I'm not racking up an extreme bill because of any kind of leaking going on. And the person on the other end of the line could not have been less helpful. Have you checked on the app? I was like, I have not checked on the app. I don't have the app. I'm calling you because I got a notice on my door that says to call this number. So I'm calling this number. Can you just go in and make sure that my account is that the repair that happened last Friday was successful and that everything's fine? And this individual was just like, hang on. Well, I can't tell. I said, yes, you can. You have an hour by hour. I've called before. That's how they told me there was a problem. You have an hour by hour usage of this particular utility. Tell me if it's still racking up, it's going crazy or not. And this person's just like, I can't tell. It looks like at about 6 a.m. things were fine, and then at about 9 a.m. it went crazy again, and these are not normal levels. I was like, so you can't tell me if the repair fit was actually worked or not. Is there constant usage still happening of this utility or not? Middle of the night, am I still racking up a bill? Can't tell. So all I did, James, is I hung up. I called the exact same number again, and I got a different person, and that person was lovely. That person answered my question in 22 seconds. It was the simplest thing in the world. I asked them the exact same question, the exact same language, the exact same tone. I was just like, can you let me know if this repair took, or am I still racking things up? Am I still using even on off times or whatever? This person goes, I hear the little clickety, 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 clack on their work computer. Nope. Looks like the continuous usage stopped at about 9:30 a.m. last Friday. Thank you. So, yeah. Okay, grievance with you know who you are, customer service person.
and utility.
Yeah.
You know who you are. I'll share my grievance. It does have to do with the whole YouTube TV Fox thing, but probably not what you're thinking of. I'm not complaining that that coverage of the Utah game or whatever might have been threatened because I'm a YouTube TV subscriber.
Okay.
No, I'm complaining that even though this happens about every other year with one of the major networks, we act like we're going to lose our college football before the season starts. Guess what? They always get a deal done, temporary or otherwise, before the season starts. So can we not lose our cool every time? Like, everyone should have known that YouTube TV and Fox were going to get a deal done. And guess what? They did. And so many people unsubscribe, whatever. It's like, okay, that was unnecessary.
Well,
it's annoying that these things happen, but also they always get a resolution, so stop losing your cool.
grievance from 3719. People who don't turn left on a blinking yellow arrow because they're waiting for a green arrow.
Yeah.
And then in all caps, the green arrow might never come, you idiot. That's absolutely right.
There's some lights that's not a green arrow.
Most of the time, if there is a blinking yellow arrow,
that's all you get.
the green arrow it's not a possibility. It's just like, this is what we have. This is our default setting. It's telling you that it's like a yield arrow. Okay? I have to tell you this one. This one is nuts. All right? I've been waiting to air this grievance all week. So last Sunday night, me and a couple of my buddies, longtime friends, who also have young children, we all got married and had kids at the same time, later in life than most Utahns, and so quite a crew. Okay, it's 3 dudes, no wives, no spouses, 3 dudes, 9 children. Okay, and we go up Mill Creek Canyon, and I also have my dog there. And we snatch a campfire spot, and we throw the logs on the fire that my buddy had just purchased at the mouth of the canyon at the Dan's or whatever that grocery store is. And we're getting ready to, burn them down to some coals. We're going to have some hot dogs, and we're going to have some s'mores. And the kids are, end of summer, splashing around in the creek. It's just beautiful. James, it is absolutely spectacular.
It sounds amazing.
And then this young woman comes down. She's probably, between 30 and 35 years old, and is like, "Hey, did you guys steal my firewood?" And we're like, "No. What do you mean?"
What a weird thing to do. No, we did not.
My buddy's like, "No, sorry, we got ours at the grocery store at the bottom of the canyon." She's like, "Well, my firewood's gone." I'm like, "Sorry, didn't steal it." And she goes, and my buddy's like, "No, yeah, we got 2. We bought them just right before we came up here at the mouth of the canyon. There's a grocery store." She's like, "Well, if you didn't steal them, then why are you feeling like you have to justify it to me where you got them?" It was the craziest thing.
Because you sound accusatory from the minute you started talking to us.
And he's like, "Well, because we told you we didn't steal it, and you're just standing there staring at us like you need more of an explanation." That was the wildest escalation I have ever seen over what she perceived to be stolen firewood. I promise. All right, wrapping up the show. Just have to give away some tickets for family 4-pack to the Utah State Fair, September 4th through the 14th. If you can answer this trivia question at 877-353-0700. Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby threw for how many yards last night in a loss to Nebraska? It was a close game. He played well. He rushed well. He did not end up with a lot of yardage. But how many yards did he throw for against Nebraska in a loss for the Bearcats? And unfortunately, a missed opportunity for the Big 12 Conference. 877-353-0700. Stay tuned for the Drive with Spence Checketts. Where's he at today, James?
He is live at Tim Dolly Infinity, about 4600 South State Street in Murray. So go check out the deals at Tim Dolly Infinity in Murray.
Go say hello to Spence Checketts and tell him OC sent you to confuse him.
And hopefully everyone's having great. They've got great Labor Day plans besides the football. I know you do.
Yeah. Well, if you're going up the mountains, I'll see you up there. Everybody enjoy your Labor Day weekend.
Don't accuse OC of stealing your firewood.
I didn't steal your firewood. We're back on a Tuesday, but we will have the Kyle Whittingham press conference on Monday. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Have a great weekend.